This was for anyone who is dreaming of quitting their W-2 job and they're inspired by house flipping and they're curious, is house flipping more profitable than wholesaling real estate, where you can make a finder's fee for finding a rundown house and giving that to a flipper? Today, we've got a very special guest, Matt DuPre, who, spoiler alert, he started flipping and he's been wholesaling for 20 years. Great episode for somebody who may be uncertain if wholesaling is real and tangible as a business that can provide that freedom that you're looking for. My name is David Lecko. I created a process that's helped people close 10,000 deals in all 50 states. And my co-host is Ryan Haywood with us today, who took a challenge when his commissions at his job were cut in 2019 to do a 14 find your first wholesale deal challenge. And he made $8,500 and he's done 400 deals since then. Matt, what a pleasure for you to be here. Somebody with 20 years of wholesaling experience. And I know you said you made $3,000 back then, which is really impressive considering there wasn't YouTube videos, there weren't podcasts. Like, how in the heck did you even learn to do this strategy, which is so popular, like the way 99% of investors get started?
Yeah. First off, I want to say thank you, David and Ryan, for inviting me on the podcast. Excited to do it. Second, that takes me pretty far back. I kind of came into wholesaling by accident, to be perfectly honest. 20 plus years ago, I was a typical fix and flipper. I was working in the technology industry. I was working for a couple of big companies, like Oracle, Salesforce in the past. I was a sales rep. I had a little bit of extra time to try and flip a couple of houses a year on the side. And I came across, during one time span, I bought from a person that I met through the newspaper, like 4 properties all at once. And I knew I couldn't work but on 3 of those at a time. So the 4th one, I was actually approached by one of my contractors at the time. And he said, well, hey, have you closed on that one yet? And I go, no, I'm just about ready to close. And he goes, well, you can just assign that over to me if you want. I'll give you some money for it. And I was like, what? Yeah, I can just assign over the contract to you and you'll give me some money? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, how much? And he was like, $3,000. I'm like, done, because I didn't know what to do with that property. So that was my first foray into wholesaling. I started to get an idea of what assignments meant. And it was kind of, off to the races after that. I started figuring out like, hey, I'm making almost as much money wholesaling as I am working 3 or 4 months on a flip, and sometimes going over budgets, and reselling the house and paying my hard money lender, and this is a whole lot easier, flipping paper instead of flipping houses.
Wow. So
After you did that,
yeah, you were working 3 to 4 months on a flip, and you would sometimes even lose money if the market changed or if things were more expensive. And so wholesaling allowed you to get that money, go find another deal without the risk, and you could get that quicker.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Just a light, flipped on for me at that point. And that was when I was still, fixing and flipping houses, but I started looking for other deals that I could just make some extra money to kind of subsidize my fixing and flipping at the time. I still had not seen the true light at that point and felt like, I don't remember if there was HGTV but there were other renovation shows, maybe this old house back then. I was like, this is what I enjoy doing. It's satisfying, but I'll make some extra money doing this assigning thing to subsidize that.
Amazing. Ryan, hit us with your question. Sorry, I cut you off earlier.
after you did that first deal and you made $3,000, was that $3,000 consistent over the next several deals, or did you start collecting bigger assignment fees? 20 years ago is a long time. That was probably big then, but it seems so small now.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I was getting, maybe a couple other deals off on the side every year. It still wasn't my main focus. I was heads down in my, career and, doing the fix and flips. But, yes, the next one after that was like $8,000. Did another one after that for like $10,000 at the time. And for, several years after that, I was doing, maybe anywhere from 2 to 5 deals on the side. And I still just kind of saw it as supplemental income at the time. But, having done this on and off now for 20 years, I mean, I've had deals that are just much, much larger, of course, than the 3,000. I made $108,000 off one assignment that I did probably about 5 or 6 years ago. So that was a fun one for a small, like 8-unit apartment complex.
Yeah.
And so, that was a much better deal than working on 3 fix and flip houses at the time and, trying to make money off of those. I mean, I worked 2 months and found the right buyer and showed the right cap rate and ROI and, closed on that deal. And I was like, that's where the light really went on for me. And I started dedicating more of my free time to doing just wholesaling and assignments. And I would say 5-6 years ago, I completely got out of the fix and flip business and started to supplement my income with wholesaling.
Mm-hmm. And one interesting thing to point out is maybe $3,000 is equivalent to what a realtor's fee could be, but in wholesaling, it's the fees as big as the deal is good that you get it under contract for, right? So like you're making more than $3,000 on a deal now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My average deal now, I would say, I'm in Texas, so our market, of course, average retail price of a house is still pretty reasonable compared to the rest of the country. So my average assignment fee is probably in the $10,000, $11,000 range. I know, if you're in other parts of the country like New York or Washington State or LA, they're probably averaging twice that in assignment fees. But I'm making good, high dollar assignment fees. I feel like, and much better than what a realtor would make.
Typically what I've seen is...
What market are you based out of?
Like 15%. Wholesalers will make 15% of the actual like value of the house. So if you're making 10, 15,000, are these kind of like $120,000 home values?
Actually, no. Yeah. Ryan, answer your question real quick. I'm in the DFW area, but I cover the entire state of Texas as my virtual market. And then David, I would say honestly, my core competency is hitting, the big time, handyman specials. And, for instance, I just closed on a deal yesterday that I bought for $10,000 down in Beaumont, Texas, and I'm making a $15,000 assignment fee on that. So
I love it. Well, what's the house worth in perfect condition after someone else fix it up?
It'll be worth probably about 105 to 125, somewhere in that range. So they're getting a fantastic deal. I mean, it's definitely run down, and it'll take them probably about 40,000, maybe 50,000 to fix it up. But they're going to see a nice return, and I'm getting a great return.
Yes. Yeah. So it is. You're making a big assignment fee on a low dollar house, but ARV, it's about you're making about 15% of that ARV. That's kind of what I've seen.
Yeah. I would say, that's fair. Yeah.
Yep. Another thing I've seen is the higher dollar the house, the higher dollar the assignment fee that you can make, which is what you had addressed earlier. I've also seen that the effort and dollars in marketing also kind of scales up a little bit too as the home value scales up. So what would you say you're spending on? How are you finding these homes, and like what does that cost?
Well, I'm doing it mostly through government lists. I started out doing a lot of just lists off different software sites, and there are some pretty good lists that you can hit off of sites like DealMachine and others out there, of course. I started out doing like absentee owners and no equity properties and things like that. I was finding deals consistently, but I supplement that with also hitting government list. And by government list, I mean like, code violations, water turnoffs, delinquent county tax delinquent properties, probate properties, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. These are properties that have an active motivation. That's why they're on that list.
Yes.
Something's wrong. The owner passed away or they haven't paid their taxes. So are you knocking on their doors or sending mail to them, or what are you exactly doing to reach out to them?
I haven't done mail in several years now. I kind of got away from that. I found when I was 5, 6 years ago, focusing just on the DFW market, I was sending out, 1,500, 2,000, postcards or flyers, and, I might get 8 or 10 people to respond back. And luckily, one of those people, I would end up getting a deal. I need to revisit that. I'm excited about the mail feature that you guys have in DealMachine, because I hear a lot of the gurus talking about that mail now seems to be overlooked, and people, been doing texting, of course, forever. They've been doing cold calling, of course, for quite a while. Of course, people are going to, Facebook ads and Google PPC and that type of thing. But I think that I will be veering back to mailing out flyers again pretty soon, because many wholesaler friends that I talk to tell me that they find that it's working, and it's working quite well again.
Amazing. Yeah. And I'm excited to hear that you're looking to try that, because it seems like marketing techniques go in cycles. Everyone gets excited about one, and so therefore something gets left in the dust and therefore becomes an opportunity. And it just kind of goes in cycles like that.
It really does. Yeah, especially with the clampdown on texting in the last few months, it's getting very difficult to get texting through with some of the limitations the wireless, the cell phone companies are putting on. I think mail will be a big channel for me, going forward.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear about that. And there's never been any restrictions on mail that there's no spam filter or anything like that. So that's
exactly.
It's actually exciting.
Yeah. I was going to point out as well too, it's been a few years. I used DealMachine probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I know there have been a lot of enhancements made to it. Since that time. At that time, I was very happy with it, and it was obviously much better than trying to jot down an address while you're driving by, or record it on your phone, or something like that. And being able to send out the postcards at the same time was great. I'm going to be doing that a lot more of that as well too going forward, because one thing that I've discovered in my journey as a wholesaler is if you limit yourself to just 1 or 2 channels, you're in grave danger. And, I can tell you more about that later, but it's hit me a couple of times in the last couple of years that I've been a full-time wholesaler, with being down to just 1 or 2 channels. And then all of a sudden something changes, and I have to figure out how to pivot quickly. So, going back to some of the basics, sending out mail, having, either myself cruising neighborhoods, or hiring people to cruise neighborhoods for me and identify, houses that look like there's motivation there. I think those will, be pretty big channels that I hit in the future.
Amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. And thanks for recognizing we're always trying to make the actual DealMachine app better. We're enhancing it every 3 weeks, and have really become more of a data provider too, rather than just driving for dollars. As you mentioned before, with the unlimited contact info. So are you using that? Because it gives you phone numbers, right? Are you using that at all now that you're focused on?
Absolutely. Yeah. Your data is excellent, by the way. I've used many different data services over the last few years. I always, every now and then, kind of take a step back and take a look at, what kind of, throughput rates I'm getting in general with a sample size. And I would say DealMachine's data, is among the best that's out there, if not the best. And, it doesn't hurt that you had that great deal at the beginning of the year where you can, buy the annual membership and, get a certain amount of, lead skip trace for free every month and exported. That's been a big money saver, for my business.
Hey guys, if you know you want to quit your job in the next 3 months, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast, because we've got some incredible frameworks with step-by-step instruction that you're not going to want to miss. Also, leave us a rating and review to let us know your favorite parts and why you want to get financial freedom.
Well, I'm thrilled to hear that. And as somebody who's definitely made wholesaling and approached it in a professional way, right? Doing it as your primary source of income for 20 years. Have you always been assigning all the deals to your same contractor, or how do you find buyers?
Well, it's through a combination of things. I would, in the past, it was just my general network and people that I'd done previous deals with. But in the last 3 years, I say I went from the DFW area to becoming a completely, virtual wholesaler. I haven't really been on site with a homeowner more than maybe 2 or 3 times in the last 3 years now to close deals. Almost everything is done over the phone and email now. And the way I'm finding my buyers now is, a combination of methods. I'm going out to, your app and pulling up a list of cash buyers that have bought in the market like in the last 6 months, and showing your app and getting those skip traced. And of course, I'm looking for absentee owners, which means they're landlords or flippers in most cases. And then I was texting to them. Now that texting is clamped down, I have my cold callers reach out to them. So that's been one method. I use Facebook Marketplace quite a bit to post my deals as well. Since I never know what market I'm going to get a deal out of, I do mostly, like what I call tier 2 markets in Texas, which are everything except for the big ones like DFW, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Austin, just because there's so much competition that I never know which markets I'm going to pull a deal from. But when I do, I typically go and pull a list first, and then I'll go to the local Facebook Marketplace looking for a real estate investor group and post my deals there.
Gotcha. So when you have a deal, then you're saying you would pull a list of cash buyers in that area and text message them that you have a deal that they might be interested in?
I do. Yeah. That's always been the primary approach.
Wow, that's awesome. So you've sold a lot of deals that way.
Yeah, I've done, I've been doing this, like I said, on and off for 20 years, but really hitting it hard for the last 4. And I've been full-time for the last 2 years. And then the 2 years before that, I was really part-time supplementing my day job in the technology industry. But I would say over the entire 20 years, I've probably done, 150 deals, at this point. And of course, the majority of them in the last 2 years as a full-time wholesaler.
Whoa, that's awesome, man. 150 deals, and you quit your job 2 years ago as well, in a time where most people have automatically thought, I can't do this right now. The interest rates are too high. It's not a good market. But you've succeeded, actually grown.
Yeah. I can't say it's not always, unicorns and rainbows, as they say, but I would say you learn how to pivot with the markets. And when the market was great a year and a half ago, you could sell almost any dog deal back then 2 years ago. And then it shifted with interest rates going higher. It just took a recognition that you need to buy at a lower price point overall, and you really need to figure out who your super serious buyers are. So it took me from being less sloppy in my business to being more focused overall. And I would actually say in this market, it's an even better market to be a wholesaler in than it was, 2 years ago when, everything seemed to be humming along and interest rates were 3.5%, 4%.
Got it. So because the interest rates got higher, some of the buyers stopped buying. At least they stopped buying at 95% of the value, right? Like some hedge funds will buy it almost at retail price. You could sell everything. Yeah. So, so some of them pulled back or paused. So you could still sell these deals, but you need to make sure they were under contract for a better price.
Exactly. Yeah. I would say a big turning point for me, I think of this clearly because, I was hurting my business for a little bit, but around that first week of July of last year, the stock market, crashed, that week. I remember distinctly because my business slowed down, and pretty quickly after that, interest rates started rising pretty regularly. And a lot of my buyers were, a little freaked out and kind of sitting on their hands on the sidelines, for a few weeks trying to figure out what they were going to do. There were a lot of fix and flippers at that time who said, hey, I'm maybe going to, finish up what I have and then take a time out and reassess. But, I started reaching out to my regular buyers and figuring out the ones that were still, buying, deep into the market. Maybe they weren't focusing on fix and flips anymore. Maybe they were changing their strategy over to doing rentals and doing buy and holds. And of course, they wanted a bigger discount when the economy was turning, to just make sure they were hedged in their business for any other unknown uncertainties that came along. But overall, I was able to make that transition. I can't lie. I went a couple of months where nothing came in for a while as far as new stuff. Actually, let me rephrase that. Deals were still coming in, but I wasn't getting the deals sold to my buyers because I wasn't getting the deep enough discount. So it hurt a little bit then, but I successfully got through that, made the transition, and I think I'm a lot better prepared now for whatever or whenever the next transition in the economy happens, whether the housing situation gets better and interest rates continue to go on the downward trend, which they've been doing the last couple of months, or whether they go up to 10%.
Gotcha. Well, I'm buying as well. I've got 6 houses under contract, and I do agree. I mean, they still cash flow as long as you get good enough deals. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to build my rental portfolio to 20. Glad you're having the same experience where you're finding people that still want to buy those deals.
Yeah, I think a big part of it was just education of the homeowners that you're buying from. Of course, almost all of them by default are like, well, Zillow says my house is worth this much. And I'm like, hey, Mr. Homeowner, first of all, Zillow is not completely accurate. Second, it's comparing your house to other properties that have been updated recently, so that's being factored into, the value you see, which is really not your true value when your roof needs to be replaced and your foundation is totally jacked up and you need to redo the, plumbing in the house, etc. And so there's an education. The biggest benefit of the turn in the economy for me was just a refocus on being very concise and just, knowing my business inside out. It was easy to get sloppy when deals were easy to sell, when the economy was a stronger economy, 2 years ago.
Gotcha. Yep. Totally get that. So you've eliminated the risk and the uncertainty of flipping from your life by wholesaling. Do you do any flips at all? Or are you totally all in on wholesaling?
Not right now. Like I said, it's been about 5 years. I've done about 25 fix and flips over the years, various projects, anywhere from single family homes to duplexes to, small multifamilies, 8, 12 units, that type of thing. Right. I would love to get back to it, but I'm so busy in my wholesale business that that's my primary income stream right now. And I enjoy it too.
The focus that you have. That's amazing. So you're using government lists to find motivated sellers. You're sending direct mail asking if they want to buy their house. You're getting it under contract, and then you're finding buyers. Did you say exactly how you find the buyers? That you text the deal and then you end up assigning the property to them?
Yeah. Typically, I'm texting them, and I'll just text them a little bit of info on the property. And I'll typically, since I'm working virtual markets, I normally, most of the markets I work in, I have somebody that, I've worked with in the past that I'll send out to go take pictures of the property immediately after I have it under contract. Then I'll have those sent to me. I'll get those uploaded to Google Drive. And when I send out a text to my buyers, I let them know I have this property, it's this price, these basics, and then I'll send them the Google Drive link so they can take a look at the pictures and everything. And, normally there's, a conversation or two after that, giving them more detail.
Yes. But how did you find that list of buyers was the one missing piece that I was curious about.
Yeah. I mean, that's typically been through, an app like DealMachine, going in.
Cash buyers filter. Perfect.
Exactly. Going in there, taking a look at cash buyers. And I may refine it, beyond just the basics and the filter. I may refine it a little bit further. Instead of it going out, a year, I may narrow it down to 6 months, range, absentee, landlords, from 250,000 and below, single family homes only, that type of thing. And pull that list and then get that skip trace to DealMachine.
Love it. What would your advice be for somebody who's just starting out in 2024, like wanting to make a change, right? They're working their 9-to-5 job, but they really want something more to have more time freedom, and they're looking for wholesaling as a way to do that.
I guess I would say, it took me a while to make the transition. I had a pretty, I had a good, 6-figure income supporting my family on. So it was more difficult for me. I often say things to my wife like, hey, if I were a single guy in my 20s, I think I could have made the transition quicker, because obviously a lot less obligations and that kind of thing. But so it took a bigger amount of income for me to replace. But I mean, you got to straddle both worlds for a while, and there's nothing wrong with that. I was finding time during my work day to, have text messages sent out at first. I was doing some of that myself from the list that I pulled, and I do that over my lunchtime. After a while, I started thinking more about outsourcing. I hired my first VA about 3 years ago over in the Philippines, and I had him doing it in the morning. And then as text responses came back, I would call people at lunchtime during the day. And I would also call them in the evening after I got done with my day. So, was it the most comfortable, situation entirely during that time, trying to straddle, my regular day job and that? No, not always, but was it worth it? I mean, 100%, absolutely. Just knowing that I was doing something that was going to provide extra income for my family and eventually get me out of the rat race, the Fortune 500 corporate rat race, and doing what I really loved, that's what made it worth it.
You put in the work on the side during your lunch break. You built something up before you quit your job.
I did.
The earlier you do it, the easier is also what I'm taking away from that. So
absolutely. I have a now 21-year-old son that wants to do this with me, and I helped him get his first deal several months back. He's excited about it now. He's in college, he's playing baseball, he's got a full-time schedule, but he's starting to dip his feet into doing some lists, pulling those off DealMachine and having, one of my VA cold callers call that list and get the leads for him. And basically, he's trying to call them, in the evenings now and negotiate contracts from there. So you can always find the time. We all have extra time in our day. We just don't realize it. It's just a matter of really blocking out that time on your calendar and not allowing anything else to, distract you during that time.
Amazing. Where can people find you on social media?
Well, I wish I were better at this, but I do have an Instagram handle called Matt Buys Any House, and that's my Instagram handle. I don't post anything, honestly. So if you reach out to me, in the past, I check that about once a month or so. I'm trying to get more on board. I'm not as young as you guys, you young whippersnappers that know how to do social media. I'm in my mid 50s now, so I'm still catching up. I'm pretty good at Facebook, which, makes sense. Of course that makes sense for, my age group, of course. Instagram, my son is big on Instagram. He's been teaching me how to work that. But I would say, reach out to me through Matt Buys Any House on Instagram or Matt Buys Any House on Facebook, and I'll be happy to respond back. One thing I'm big on is, because like any wholesaler that started out, I struggled quite a bit at first just to figure out that wholesaling really is real and that you really can make it work and make money. It really is just a change in your belief system. And, what does it, of course, is I'm sure, Ryan found out when he did that challenge with you guys, a year or two back, is you just got to keep going and believe it's going to happen. And then when it finally does happen, you go, wow, I get it now. It really can be done. And that change in your belief system right there is what propels you to the next level and allows you to just go at it 1,000%, harder, at that point. And, that's been my journey. So I was trying to say, I'm big on helping other people. I kind of think that, what you guys are doing here through the podcast, that's awesome. I mean, this is free content that your subscribers and students can consume all the time and continue to go out to YouTube and learn all the time. And yes, in my mid 50s, I do use YouTube. So, and Facebook and all that, but, I'm just a big believer in helping other people. So feel free to reach out if I can answer any questions to anybody. I'd be happy to do it. Can I hold your hand every step of the way and you sit in my office with me for 12 hours a day? No, probably not. But can I tell you what you're doing right and what you're not doing right and give you direction to change where you need to go? Absolutely.
Amazing. That was so generous of you to offer that, Matt. So find Matt on Facebook. And I just really appreciate you sharing your story from one Texan to another. I hope you have an amazing day and enjoy the warm Texas winter weather like I'm thankful for every single day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David. Appreciate you and Ryan taking time to interview me.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.